Good morning. My name is Cindy Chalkin. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a member of our worship committee. Welcome to the Unitarian Society of New Haven, USNH, where together we seek to inspire lives of compassion and generosity, nurture spiritual growth, cultivate transformative connections, and create a more just world. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your heritage, and from wherever your beliefs spring, we are so glad you are here, in person or virtually. It is good to be together. If you are visiting for the first time, or perhaps new enough to USNH that you have questions about Unitarian Universalism and our congregation, we invite you to the social hall after the service to join members of the Connections team at the welcome table in the back corner. We have a section here in the sanctuary reserved specifically for those who wish to wear masks, right here. And of course, you are welcome to wear a mask wherever you sit. Protecting each other is always our goal. Each week, we remember that the mission and work of our congregation are supported by your pledges and weekly offerings. You may send a check to USNH, 700 Hartford Turnpike, Hamden, Connecticut, 06517, with a note in the memo line indicating either pledge or offering. Just getting right to the point. Or you may text the word give to 203-769-9299. And also, members will be present in the back of the sanctuary after the service to receive your gifts today. Know that your gifts, whenever and whatever amount, are received in deep gratitude. You will find these few announcements in your order of service as I highlight them now. Today at 4 p.m., the annual Sundays at 4 series begins with music from Franz Schubert, performed by Christopher Grundy and William Brown. I'm looking forward to that. Also today, from noon to 1 p.m., the LGBTQ Welcoming Task Force will meet in room 208. And from 12 to 12:30 p.m., Darcy Jeffrey will lead a spirit dance, Halloween edition, right here in the sanctuary. And please remember that the Connect Assembly is Monday, October 21st. USNH has always had a strong presence at these assemblies, and we need more members to sign up. See Roy Anastasio in the lobby or the lobby or the social hall, in the lobby, following the service to register. As we steadfastly support one another in our spiritual community, we acknowledge that some of us bear burdens made lighter as others help us carry them. And some of us hold joys which shine more brightly as others reflect our delight. Although we don't have any specific joys or sorrows to share today, let's take a moment to silently honor all that people are holding in their hearts and minds. Together, as we begin to worship, let us give thanks for this community of care and love.
Good morning. I'm Sunny. I'm the ministerial intern here at USNH. My pronouns are she and her. I call us to worship today, and Cindy will light our chalice with words from Emil Goodmanson. And now, may we have faith in life to do wise planting, that the generations to come may reap even more abundantly than we. May we be bold in bringing to fruition the golden dreams of human kinship and justice. This we ask, that the fields of promise become fields of reality. So as we open this sacred time together today, let us have faith in life, Let us bring golden dreams to fruition, and let us hold space for fields of promise to become fields of reality. And so it is. And I invite you now to rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, which is number 111 in your gray hymnal.
Thank you, Sonny. Thank you, William. Good morning. Welcome. It's very good to see everyone here on a holiday weekend. It is Indigenous Peoples Weekend, and we are, of course, mindful that we are on land we did not own. It's important on weekends like this to remember of the deep roots, the roots that go deep beyond generations and beyond our living memory, really. To those that tilled this land and fished its streams and looked at the stars above them and dreamed as we do, and dream still today, our fellow brothers and sisters. Normally, Jesse is here doing the Message for All Ages, and he is in Costa Rica with Sandra, and so it falls to me to speak to those of all ages, and I'm happy to do it. I did it for many years. I actually trained as a religious educator, so I really admire what Jesse does and the spirit by which he carries his task. And this is a story you may have heard before. I'm telling you today not only because I wanted to do this story, I think it has applicability to our current situation, but I also think a little later in the day, I'm doing a service for a former member, Ronald Reamer, who I got a call on Tuesday that he had died, and we're doing the service at 1 o'clock. And because Ron was a spiritual dreamer, and so yes, he was interested in Buddhism, and yes, he was interested in Unitarian Universalism, but his Jewish roots are very, very deep, and so we will be reading the Kaddish by his graveside. And it reminded me of this story of an abbot who was very sad because his monastery had fallen into tough times. Almost every one of the 4 monks in the monastery were over 70, and they were getting tired and old and sometimes irritable with each other. And so the abbot, Thomas, said, "What am I going to do?" And then he remembered an old friend, a rabbi who lived in the woods in his retirement. So he went and he sat down with the old rabbi, and they sat and they prayed together, and they had a cup of tea. And the abbot Thomas explained his predicament, his sadness. And the rabbi said, "I know what you say. Very few people come to the morning prayers in the great city, in the great synagogue. I know whereof you speak." And so they talked for a long, long time. And as Thomas got up to go, the old rabbi said, "Oh, there's one more thing. The Messiah is one of you at the monastery." Thomas said, "How can that possibly be?" And he thought long and hard. He said, "Could it possibly be Eldred? No, he's too crotchety." But then he thought harder and he thought, well, yes, he could be a thorn in the side, but he was often right. And he thought, could it be Philip? Passionless, sometimes fading into like a wallpaper. He thought to himself, perhaps a bit unkindly, that Philip was a bit of a nobody. But then he prayed and thought harder and realized that when there was a need, Philip mysteriously, almost magically, was there. And he thought of everyone that he shared life with. And he thought, one of them could possibly be the Messiah? But he went back and he shared this message, and all looked at each other. They could not believe it. But the rabbi was venerated and wise, so they could not dismiss it either. And so, as the months went by, they began to treat each other with deeper and deeper respect. They began to look at each other a little differently, wondering, could it possibly be? And other people in the town, they began to see this aura, this deepening respect, this kindness. And they started showing up for prayers and for holy days. And soon after the years went by, more and more people came and offered their love and their support to the monastery so that it began to thrive. It did more than survive. It thrived. My friend, the Mr. Carl Scoville, shared this story in one of his radio talks in Boston. And this is the way Carl ended this story. So who knows, dear listener? The Messiah whom you seek, the wise one you've been looking for, may already be living in your house, or possibly be next door. The Messiah may be working at your office, or worshiping with you in the pew next to you. At a church or a synagogue near you. Or could the Messiah possibly be you? And now Sharon's going to help me lead the children out. And you know the song we sing, Go Now in Peace. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace.
covenant lies at the center of how Unitarian Universalists gather in community. We are united not by a particular set of beliefs, but by the promises we make about how we will be together, how we treat each other, and how we will seek to mend relationships when we fall short of our aspirations. While the following words express our intentions in writing, as we all know, our true covenant lives and breathes in our actions. Please join me in saying the words of our shared USNH covenant that appear in your order of service or in the chat in the live stream. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy.
We have a unison reading today. For those who wish to participate, we're working from number 485 in the gray hymnal. That's 485. Let's read together. Turn scarlet leaves, spin earth, tumble the shadows into dawn, the morning out of night. Spill stars across these skies and hide them with the suns. Teach me to turn my sullen sense toward marvel. Let green and red and dark and day concur with the returning life I am. Now I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 191. That's 191. And as we are being seated for our meditation today, I invite us to sit with the words of Rabindranath Tagore that we just sung in that hymn. You may wish to close your eyes for this, going inward just a bit. I invite you to allow into your awareness recollection of the simple joys of this world. Sunbursts and flower blooms. Insects, birds, and beasts, grass and clouds, star songs of the night and new morning light. And holding these simple joys, let us rest in silence for just a few moments, after which we'll be called back with a musical interlude. We have one more reading today. This time it is responsive. For those who wish to participate, we're working with number 489 in the gray hymnal. That's 489. I'll read the plain font, and I invite you to read the words in italics. When love is felt or fear is known. When anniversaries arrive by calendar or consciousness.
Seasons come, and seasons do. Old and young, somehow new.
When lives are born or people die.
When something sacred ascends to the soil of sky.
Mark the time.
Respond with thought or prayer.
Let nothing living slip between the fingers of the mind. And now the USNH choir.
I am so enjoying this service. What a shame I have to preach. That was just unbelievable. Thank you. Well, I know nothing about baseball. I'm not a big baseball fan. I know for some people it's the high holy days. When I arrived in Boston, a member of the search committee greeted me during the candidating week and said, "Do you know what the true religion of Boston is, don't you?" And I very foolishly said, "Well, I thought it was Unitarianism, but I think you're going to say the Red Sox." And she smiled and she said, "You'll do." Well, Satchel Paige had a burning fastball. He was a powerfully dignified and popular figure who first played in what they call the Negro Baseball League. But by the end of his career, this magnificent 6'5" man had moved on to the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he's remembered more than 60 years later, even by people like me. He didn't receive much formal education, but he got into Bartlett's, which I'll never do. He articulated some rules for living I'd like to share with you. You may have heard some of them before. He said, "If you want to live well, avoid fried meats which anger the blood." Well, Liz has been in China for a week, and I'm afraid I've already broken rule number 1. If your stomach disputes you, he said, lie down and pacify it with cool thoughts. He had to keep the juices flowing by jangling around gently as you move, which you have seen from this pulpit already. Go very light on the vices, such as carrying on in society. The social ramble isn't restful. Avoid running at all times. I follow that one. And rule number 6, and this is the one you've probably heard many times. Don't look back. Something may be gaining on you. Now, this is actually not a sermon about the election. I've been haranguing you for weeks now. This is a different kind of sermon, but don't look back. Something may be gaining on you still. Every year for my ministry, and I didn't do it last year for the very first time, I've taught a course called Building Your Own Theology. And the first thing you do in Building Your Own Theology, it's a kind of a trust group of generally around 12 folks who come together for 6 weeks and then end their time of exploring theology together. It was written by a wonderful Unitarian minister from Rochester, New York, named Dick Gilbert. And what you do at the beginning is you have to do your spiritual autobiography. You can share it with the group if you wish, but it's really just kind of an inventory that you yourself make. And I have found it to be very, very powerful. It is the right thing to do when you're starting out in a group like this. I've learned that interesting things happen when you ask people to do their spiritual autobiography. Some people dive right in and they love it, and it's just a great experience. Other people are daunted. Some are saddened. Some are paralyzed. I remember, actually this person remains to this day a good friend of mine. When he took the course, he drew a little picture of a character that was in kind of a ghost-like shroud, encasing him like a cocoon. And I said, what's that picture of? And he said, well, that's to remember that I spent a year of my life in bed in a cast as my bones were reset. And it changed my life. Still does to this day. And his wife, who was taking the course next to him, turned and said, "You've never told me that." I was astonished. Interesting things develop when you take that kind of inventory of your life. As I said, some people will resist it because it's got some painful stuff mixed in with all the marvels that we sang about in Rabineth Tagore's lovely hymn, Now I Recall My Childhood. Stuff that they thought had been tucked away and didn't really want to talk about, but it's there. It's still there, even though it's private. But it is, in fact, the foundation, not only of who you are, but of building your theology. And over through the years, I remember seeing what I call the look. The look. Sometimes we just don't want to go back there. Don't look back. Like Lot's wife in the Bible, looking back and being turned into a pillar of salt. And what's really interesting, though, for some people, once they've done that inventory, you literally, some people are paralyzed and some people go silent. What's been more interesting to me through the years is the people that start the loop again, and they can hardly stop talking about it. Something gets liberated or freed up. And sometimes the liberation goes too far and they move into a place where they're caught and they're repeating it and reliving it. As I said, the stuff is tricky. I know I'm going to be pressing some buttons today because you really can't talk about a topic like this within confines of 20 minutes to mitigate some of the burdens that we carry. I would need an entire hour for that. And yet it's really important. I can hardly think of anything more important. Now, you look terrific this morning. You look fabulous. I admit it. But we're not exactly like the old REM song, Shiny Happy People, that we may appear to be. We are all on a human journey, a journey towards being humane, to be good in hard times, to deal with the past, the pain, the loss, people that we loved along the way, yes, and some suffering, wounds that have taken a long time to heal if they've healed at all, and sometimes have just been covered over. There's absolutely nothing new about this. Jesus was a pretty fair psychologist in my book, and I've always remembered, and I think a lot of his followers forget, he said that the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. We're all human. No spiritual genius worth their salt has ever said that the problems would be taken away or there'd be some kind of magical spiritual technology to assuage your pain. Indeed, if anybody tells you that, I think they're leading you in the wrong direction. It's not good theology, and it never was. The real spiritual path of the human journey deals with our past, focuses in and understands the pain that we share that makes us truly one. JFK was once asked in a news conference, what did he think of a bill being turned down? And he said in succulent words, in his good old sort of Irish Catholic way, you know, life isn't fair. He had it in his blood. He knew that. Life isn't fair, he said. And it isn't. You can't look back. And if you're just looking for justice and for fairness, you're just not going to find it. That's not really what the spiritual path is about. Life will tangle you. It will leave tears. But it also lifts you up. It's given you beauty beyond your capacity really to absorb it. It's given you love. And love isn't fair either. It gives you blessings that we don't often pay enough attention to. It's a mixed bag, which is another way of saying what you've been given, your breath, your heartbeat, your consciousness. It's a mystery. The French poet Jacques Prévert says, "What are days? We are all days. My friend, we are all life. My love, we love and we live. We live and we love, and we do not know what life is. And we do not know what day is. And we do not know what love is." But we keep going deeper in and on. And we seek some peace with the past, moving past any emotional chains that paralyze us, hold us, constrain us, that can drag us down, keep us from turning our face to the future. Because we can't really move ahead until we come to terms with everything that has come our way, whether it was fair or not. Everything that we are today, that's made us who we are today. Some of us have been born with physical infirmities, and it's not fair. Some of us have had troubled childhoods, and it wasn't right. Some of us deal with painful burdens given to us by inconsistent and sometimes not so good parenting. Sometimes life has been harsh. Some of us cope with illnesses that are completely unfair, physical and mental burdens. But the question today is not, is life fair? Because I think we've established it's not. That is not what the spiritual path is all about. The question that the spiritual life takes you on is, can you be happy? Can you be fulfilled? Can you be whole? And the answer is yes. And the answer is, what are days? We are all days. One of the greatest spiritual challenges is dealing with that past, because we live in the flow of time. Despite what the mathematicians and the physicists tell us, and even the great mystics, we seem to sense that life for us on the daily grind only moves forward. We cannot go back. We cannot refashion life. We cannot go back and rewrite a darn thing. Whatever is, is. And as much as we dream, as much as we yearn for and long for, in our consciousness and in our history and in our characteristics we were born with, and in our conscious and unconscious ways of dealing with things, there is still, beyond all the things I've talked about, there is still beyond us a vast, vast territory that we only dimly understand. It is what our transcendental forebears tried to give us. Emerson and Margaret Fuller. If Unitarian Universalism has given anything to world religion, it is the Transcendentalists. And I'll be talking much more about them in the year to come, and Sonny's doing a course on great mystics. There is a vast territory above and beyond who we are. And it's inside us. It is yet to be. It forms the very inner territory upon which we move when we move into the future. And I've come to believe, as I am now 70, that the past, no matter how vast and detailed it might be, is only a small things compared to what is still yet to be. Noel Coward, the great British songwriter and playwright, wrote a poem that was turned into a song called "Nothing is Lost." These song lyrics are like nothing I've ever seen before. I'm not going to sing them to you, but here they are. Deep in our subconscious, we are told, lie all our memories, lie all the notes of all the music we have ever heard, and all the phrases that we have loved and have spoken. Sorrows and losses time has since consoled. Each sentimental souvenir and token, everything seen, experienced, each word, before we could even know or understand the implications of our wonderland. The legendary lies, the tears, forgotten debris of forgotten years, waiting to rise before our world dissolves before our eyes. An echo from the past, when innocent, we looked upon the present. And for the next phase of this sermon, I tell a story. 3 friends die in a tragic car accident. And as they ascend to heaven, they each go up to the orientation. Yes, there will be an orientation. And they're all asked, tell us your story. What are you proudest of? What made you what you are? And the first person said, if I could be present at my memorial service, I think I would love to hear them say that I was a dedicated doctor, that I gave unstintingly, that I was a good family man. And the second said, well, I loved my children dearly, and I had a wonderful husband, and I tried to care for them no matter what. And I was a teacher who truly loved my students, all of them. And I think I made a big difference in the world to come. And then St. Peter turned to the third person, a Unitarian, said, I'd like to know how you envision your memorial service going. And the person said, well, first of all, I want the minister to get up, look down in the coffin and say, oh, he's moving. Well, poor St. Paul doesn't get quoted from this pulpit very often, but he says, I can deal with any problem. I can have a lot or I can have nothing. I can have bad luck or good, but whatever happens, I can keep moving. I can keep moving. Something is happening. Out of despair, out of pain, there's movement. That's what that course I taught all those years is about. That's what we do each and every Sunday. That's what we're about. We're not a denomination. We are a movement, and we keep moving. And for each and every singular person, we keep moving. And the first perspective in the end must be for us to embrace that future, whatever the future may be. And that future actually may be harsher than we imagine. But embrace it we must. Because no matter where we find ourselves in life's journey, whether we're just starting out or whether we are 85, it does not matter. Not in the spiritual realm. It matters a lot in the world of chronological time. But in the world of kairos, which is the Greek word for timeless time, it matters not a jot. Because the next moment is in fact eternity. We are temporal beings, I know that. But we also live in kairos. And that's where, if any place, your soul is. That's where your heart is. That's where your emotions reside. That's where your gut is. Timeless time. It requires asking, are you dealing with the same problems that you were dealing with a decade ago? And if you are, seriously think about what it would take to grow and to move on. I'm sorry if any of this seems like overly obvious, but there's nothing, they say, as rare as common sense, and there's nothing more essential than that which is clearly within and still before us. we have access into a new and changed life. If we have but the courage and the stamina and the hope and the willingness to reach out to the people that in fact surround you, to walk together. As our covenant said at First Church in Boston, back in 1630, the only piece of the covenant I could really resurrect out of the old Puritan past was the little phrase, which we talked about in supervision the other day. A little phrase from the old covenant, to walk together in all our ways, to keep moving, to be part of a movement. And life is that fantastic and marvelous and mysterious gift. And it is time to take it and to grasp it. And Paul said, "This one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind, I strain forward to what lies ahead." And if you're going to walk together in all your ways, I love that phrase from more than 2,000 years ago. Sounds like it was written yesterday. I strain forward to what lies ahead. The word strain here is a very interesting one. It means effort. It means courage. It means determination. We know that the word strain means wear and tear, but to embrace the future with hope, that becomes a clear spiritual discipline. And perhaps it is the highest, because sometimes we don't know whether we have that strength. It is the highest because you may be challenged on many fronts, and in ways you can only dimly imagine now. But your spiritual life, that is what takes you there and past. And everything I've said leads to one kind of simple idea. In the end, because we cannot rewrite or change the past, we must learn to embrace the future in such ways as to transform the way that the past has power over us, so that we can keep moving. You can be broken by the past, but you could also transcend it. Satchel Paige may have been right. Don't look back. Maybe. There may be something gaining on you, that is true. But let it be an increasing sense of hope. It's not greatness that I'm talking about today. I'm talking about simple, humble hopefulness. It is a refreshment of the Spirit to embrace this future and to do so with verve and vitality. Freshness. Yes, the past is deep and long, but the future is vaster still, no matter our age or present consciousness. The Inuit peoples said, "The great sea has set me in motion, set me adrift, moving me like a weed in the river. And the sky and the strong wind have moved the spirit inside me, so that I am carried away, trembling with joy." So may it be. Amen. Do you mind bringing me order service? Thank you very much. The order service. Yeah, thank you. $2.90, bring, O past your honor. Please rise as you are willing and able. $2.90. long departed, in your tones re-echo, praise to the highest, peace to all below. Shrine of frontier courage, Sinai of its vision, home and hearth of common quest to life's immortal good. Stand in years oncoming, sentinel of conscience, as through the past your stalwart walls have stood. In the family
You may be seated. Please recite with me the words in your order of service for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And now may peace, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge of love. And may this peace be yours on this holiday weekend. Amen. And go.